Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is The Tomb of Fire for D&D 5th edition by Arcdream Publishing. Okay, first a bit of history. Released in 2020, The Tomb of Fire is a 32-page scenario that is available as a PDF or print on demand that has been created to be compatible with D&D 5th edition under the Open Gaming licence. It's been designed for 5 third-level characters. It also marks Arcdream Publishing's 3rd D&D publication. Right, to the cover. Here we have a fairly decent action-packed piece by Kirk Komoda that shows one of the possible set pieces in the scenario. On to the inside. There'll be spoilers from this point forward, so stop watching now if you intend to play this. Once we get past the usual legal disclaimers, we move on to the introduction. It's here we find out that the scenario starts at Rahaman Oasis in a dry land of Kalar on the edge of the Great Majur Desert. The adventurers are seeking the Tomb of Fire, a mythical ruined temple of a forgotten god that folklore says is guarded by deadly spirits. They've determined that only the notorious Bashara people know where to find the Tomb of Fire, and to discover this they will need to journey 300 miles across the scorching Majur Desert. It is suggested that the adventurers are coming here as part of an expedition to the Rahaman Oasis, and how they heard of the Tomb of Fire is up to the group. They've heard that it is full of astonishing treasures and important secrets of the gods, and suggest that they may have been sent on commission to investigate it. The Rahaman Oasis sprawls around a patch of trees with the desert spreading out in all directions, with mountains to the south. It is arid and hot, with the occasional windstorm striking, and rainfall only happens a few times per year. The sky is always a deep blue except when a storm is striking when it turns orange. The wind rushes across the desert, though this provides no relief from the heat. They speak Kalim here, though beyond the desert the Bashari, a group of supposed outlaws, have their own language that is similar. The people here are dark and wiry, usually wearing flowing white robes that are piped with colourful fringes, and head wraps are common. Rahaman is littered with idols of countless gods and spirits. The pantheon here is led by Marak the king and Vahan the mother. The Bashari honour Wahan and another unnamed god called the Lord of Storms. The gods of the land are listed here. The Oasis is the last port of call for the adventurers, though it is only a small trading town. They need to plan a journey to Jahi's using the map overleaf. They can cover 5 to 10 miles per day on foot or 10 to 20 miles per day by horse or camel. There are a few wells in the desert, and once they reach Bashari country it is greener, so water is not as much of an issue. It gives rules for desert travel and water consumption, where it essentially makes camels a no-brainer for transport as you may imagine, and it gives us a list of supplies available at the Oasis, along with prices. The adventurers can take advice from merchants that make the trek often, and they will recommend not taking horses and instead loading a camel with water and supplies. Crossing the desert causes a roll for progress, navigation, animal handling, exhaustion and an encounter. The details of how to do this are listed here. If they travel at night, progress is rolled with advantage, and it is based on the survival skill. It is a combination of good management of supplies and common sense. It gives a list of encounters here with it ranging from merchants to simple spider bites, as well as environmental hazards like mirages and sinkholes. Eventually, after 8 hexes, they should come to a haunted well. This is the first non-random encounter where the party come across an unexpected ancient well that appears dingy, dark and long dried up. Heat and a smell of decay rises from it, and from sundown to sunrise it echoes with howling. Should the party talk into the well, they will be answered by a rasping voice. It is a desert ghoul. These are foul spirits that are drawn to the bodies of murder victims, possessing and preserving them. The ghoul can give the party some actual useful information should they speak to it, though those that engage with it risk being beguiled and taking on some of the ghoul's personality traits. Desert ghouls cannot bear sunlight and refers to itself as having no name, being called sleepless. They seek to find other corpses to possess and pose as a spirit that seeks a proper burial. If a player climbs down the well, it will ambush them, dragging them out of sight and try to kill them. It can only emerge from the well after dark, which it will do, seeking another victim. As they come to within 3 hexes of the end of the desert, they encounter a massive sandstorm that turns the sky dark yellow. This triggers a skill challenge where they can stagger into the lair of an enormous wolf spider. After the storm, the players will encounter the Bashari. They ride horses and carry long 2-handed swords. If they attack, they form a circle around the victims, creating a confusing whirl of horse, sand and noise. They're stern, black-haired and in the men's case bearded. They all wear a talisman of a spiral symbol. Their leader is Sarima, a tough-looking woman who will utter a Bashari prayer at seeing that they have travelled through the desert. She will ask why they have come to their lands. If they say they are looking for the Tomb of Fire, she insists that they come and speak to the Bashari High Priest. Any other answer that fails to deceive her will be met with suspicion, and she will ask that they come to the High Priest for judgment. Otherwise, she welcomes them to the land of the Bashari. They can fight the Bashara should they wish, though this will lead to them being attacked periodically along the way should some of them escape. They will eventually be met by the Paladins of the Hidden Flame, more on those later. The Bashara live at Jahi's, and along the way they can ask the Bashara about their beliefs. They can find out that they worship the Lord of Storms, though his name is a holy secret and images that show his likeness are strictly forbidden. They also revere Wahan, the goddess of the earth, the consort to the Stormlord. Their god wants them to conquer all peoples of the world and make him supreme. They must also guard the Tomb of Fire. The ruins of the tomb are forbidden to all, and the Bashara have sworn an oath to protect them. The Bashara will try to teach the players some of their prayers along the way, which are detailed here. They are in the Auran dialect of Primordial, and the word Anukamach translates to Lord of Storms. Next we arrive at Jahi's. The city is built at the base of a huge column of stone that they call the Mountain, with houses being made of stone and sun-hardened mud. The Bashara are a bit of a mixed bag toward the adventurers, with some being openly hostile. Sarima will point at the gap in the stone at the top of the mountain towards the Temple of the Sky. Visitors have to climb up, there is no path. She will have the adventurers as guests at her home. It is decorated with tapestries of coloured beads and beautiful rugs. Her children will bring food and drink to her guests, and they will come to understand that hospitality is important to the Bashara. One of her daughters, Dula, has a knack for languages and can speak Common fluently, allowing the adventurers to question her. Sarima's home also has a small altar to the Lord of Storms. If they arrive at Jahi's as prisoners, they are essentially treated well. If they wish to trade, it can be discovered that one of Sarima's cousins, Jahi, can give them some information on the tomb's whereabouts, hinting cryptically at its location. The next section covers the Temple of the Sky. Should they wish to see the High Priest, Sarima will take them to the base of the mountain where they can climb to the top. It is essentially a skill test that adds levels of exhaustion. When they reach the top, they will find that the Temple of the Sky has a few rooms carved into the rock, with tapestries hanging on the walls and ceremonial cups and bowls sitting on altars. They'll be greeted by Bashara priests and eventually by Maerif, the High Priest. He will flat out say that he knows that they have come to find the Tomb of Fire, saying that they are sworn to guard it as it is the prison of an immortal enemy of the Bashara, and that mortals are forbidden to enter it upon pain of death or under extreme circumstances. With the right kind of skill checks, they can discover that the great enemy is a devil of earth and fire called Kalahab that was once a god of the sky and sun that was overthrown by the Lord of Storms, but that this is a lie, as Kalahab is a great liar who seduces the faithful with false promises. We then move on to how Maerif responds to the adventurers based on their alignments. Good, especially lawful good characters, will be brought into Maerif's confidence. He will tell them that auguries have warned that evil men have tried to break into the temple to free Kalahab, and that their arrival is a sign from the Lord of Storms. He asks that if they reach the heart of the temple and stop the intruders, whilst also ensuring that Kalahab is still imprisoned, that the Bashara will reward them, but that they must take nothing from there. Maerif knows nothing of the dangers that lie within the tomb. If they agree, he will gift them some potions and scrolls for them to use. He will then tell them that the Tomb of Fire is 30 miles due east of Jahi's, in an ancient ruins with 2 tall, thin pyramids, though he will not give them any more assistance in the form of guides. If the party are neutral or evil, he will say that the auguries have warned him of them, saying that entrance is forbidden upon pain of death and that they are to abandon their search. If they convince him that they will, he will congratulate them on their wisdom and promise them enough food, water and provisions to take them back to Rahaman. If they lie and he sees through it, he pretends he hasn't noticed. He can be convinced by extremely compelling liars to help these aligned people with their quest. The next section is the ruined temple. Around halfway between Jahi's and the Tomb of Fire, they come across a rocky outcropping overlooking a ruin. It was clearly once a temple, but every statue has been defaced and it is filled with stone and dust. One large statue has the inscription, "I am Kalahab, the Storm of Fire, King of Heaven and Earth, all kneel before my glory," inscribed on the plinth, and the statue looked to have been a powerful humanoid figure that was painted black and orange. It is here at the ruins that the party are approached by a dozen Bashara warriors who seem stranger than the ones that they've already met. These are the Paladins of the Hidden Flame, and they are evil in nature. They approach warily, wanting to talk and offering to share their camp, water and food. Their leader is called Barut and is tall and burly. They tell the party that the Bashara of Jahi's are liars and that the true god of the land is Kalahab. They will say that the Lord of Storms is his brother and betrayed Kalahab, imprisoning him. The Paladins follow the High Priestess of the Great One, the Hidden Flame, Amatakul. They say that she will come to them when the time is right, and they will confess that a few of their greatest warriors entered the tomb 2 days ago and have not emerged. Amatakul will come to them in the middle of the night. Hungry for power she will attain by freeing Kalahab. She is beautiful and seductive with golden eyes. This is a disguise, as she is in reality a ghoul thing similar to the woman in the well from earlier, just more powerful and cunning. She will hope to lure someone away on their own. She will flat out lie to the adventurers on anything they ask on the tomb or Kalahab, and will even explain her golden eyes as having lost their sight as a child and a wise priest of Kalahab having replaced them. Next we move on to the tomb itself. As advised, it is marked by a pair of tall pyramids 30 miles east of Jahi's. A set of dusty stairs leads to a long corridor below. Should the party rest in the ruins, they'll be exposed to attacks after 2d6 hours from either the Bashara or the Paladins, depending on who they allied with, though this can be dealt with based on past interactions and diplomacy. Rest inside the tomb is essentially impossible, as they start getting disturbing visions of war, fire, lightning and the thundering speech of gods. Okay, so the temple itself consists of only 7 rooms as pictured here. Each of the rooms presents a test of some sort. The first room is the Child's Cave. Here, a boy will stumble towards the party out of the darkness with glowing red eyes. He seems sad and weak. He claims to have been imprisoned here by the Bashara and will beg for help. He would claim that in the heart of the temple there is an item, the Bowl of Storms, that keeps his curse intact. He will beg the adventurers to destroy it in order to break the curse and set him free. The boy is actually Kalahab. In this place he cannot lie, though he can mislead, not answer, deflect and evade. It gives a number of questions that he will offer lies about, even to the point of evading the question as to whether he is who he says he is. First up we have the Storm Cave. Upon stepping in here, the party will find themselves in a blinding sandstorm. It is a test of faith where those who manage to endure it for 3 rounds will see the storm vanish along with all of the damage taken and be allowed to pass. Those who flee will find the damage to be real. The next one detailed is the Hall of Wind. This narrow corridor has an open roof and the wind will well up against them should they try to push through it. Those that push through find themselves pulled into a terrifying whirlwind and then falling, causing some damage. Those that press on find the corridor suddenly still and able to move on. After this we have details of the Thunder Cave. It flashes with lightning and rumbles with thunder which grows stronger and forms into a phrase that the party may recognise as hearing before, a Bashari phrase which translates as, "The storm is lord of the world." If the players remember the answer, "For the world emerged from the storm," and says it out loud at various points passing through, they can get through with no damage. This leads to the Chamber of the Flood. This contains a number of altars dedicated to the gods of the Majeur. One is an altar to the Lord of Storms and has a gleaming golden bowl on it. When they fully enter the room, a stone slab starts sealing the entrance and water floods into the chamber. It will continue rising and drown the transgressors. If they place a sacrifice of any value in the bowl, it will falter for a second and then continue. Once everyone in the room has placed a sacrifice, the water will drain away and a stone slab will open, leading to the kneeling hall. As they walk down this sharply winding tunnel, they will hear whispering that will be a Bashari prayer which translates to, "The faithful bow low before the Holy Lord of Storms." It ends in a long cavern lined with thick columns with a sealed tunnel at the end. The prayer becomes ever clearer and louder to the point where it drowns out all speech and thought. They must endure some pretty nasty lightning damage to get to the other end. If they lie prone and crawl across, the lightning misses them. This leads to the cavern of smokeless flames. 3 bodies of recent demise lie on the threshold to this room, all paladins of the Hidden Flame. Stairs lead up to a pool of steaming water. To the left and right are treasures. Those that climb the stairs and look into the water see a fire deep within, which will rise and take the form of a tall, stern man of noble bearing. His flesh is fire and he radiates scorching heat. He will introduce himself as Kalahab, the Storm of Fire. Within the tomb, Kalahab is governed by certain laws. He cannot leave, lie, use magic except to change shape, touch or speak of the Bowl of Storms, or attack intruders unless he is first attacked or they steal from the tomb. He will make them an offer. If they take the Bowl of Storms outside into the air beyond the tomb, they may have a wish. He can actually grant 3, though these must be bargained for. Additionally, they may keep any of the other treasures as long as they remove the bowl. To earn this, they must defeat the angel set by the Lord of Storms to guard the bowl. This is what killed the 3 paladins at the threshold. Kalahab does have some weaknesses. He's open to flattery, reminiscing about his ruthless rule over the desert tribes and boasting about his old power and authority. Additionally, music will distract him. It details the treasures around the room, including some nice valuables and useful magic items, and also the Bowl of Storms. Should the party try to steal from the chamber, it gives some rules on governing Kalahab's reaction. Anyone who carries the bowl beyond the threshold of the chamber is attacked by an air elemental. Should they manage to get out of the cave and get to the Child's Cave unscathed, they will be met with 3 paladins and a Matakul who will try to stop them leaving. Should the party choose to fight Kalahab, he will warn them, and then a fiery crocodile will emerge from the pool to join the fight. Kalahab will constantly change shape each turn to the forms listed here. He actually doesn't want to destroy them, choosing to knock them out instead of having killing blows, as he would prefer them to be in servitude. If he is released, he transforms into his true form, a black-skinned, fire-breathing giant, a powerful Efreet. He will indeed grant a wish to the person who destroyed the bowl, but will slay one of the party for each wish they ask for. Only wishing for him to not attack them will stop this. After a few rounds of fighting, he will mock the survivors and then vanish in a clap of thunder. This causes the tomb to collapse, which may be a hazard in itself. Outside the temple they will find a dozen Bashari warriors led by Sarima and a dozen Paladins in a standoff. Should they leave the tomb without freeing Kalahar but with loot, the Paladins and Bashari attack everyone. Should they have no loot or Kalahar, the Paladins attack the party but the Bashari attack the Paladins. If Kalahar is free, he attacks the Bashari. Anyone who flees to the open sands is generally safe. If the party manage to survive the entire ordeal and confirm that Kalahar remains in prison without having stolen treasure, they are rewarded with a fine warhorse each by the Bashari, talismans of the Lord of Storms, and 500 gold pieces worth of coin and jewels. Lastly, we have the stats for all of the NPCs and creatures that the players face. The Tomb of Fire is an enjoyable jaunt, which continues to flesh out the excellent Sunlands region. It again presents some of the culture of the place, taking on perhaps a more Saharan feel than the Central African scenario that preceded it, and indeed has a lot of flavour of the Northern African Arabic influenced countries, even having a distinct Arabian Nights feel in places, with the art definitely lending to this. The desert towns are nicely realised, and the travelling element is well paced without feeling like it dominates the scenario. The Bashari are interesting, as are the Paladins of the Hidden Flame, and the tomb itself is quite well put together without feeling over large or sprawling. It has a distinct feel that the rooms were carefully thought out and planned to maximise the flavour of the setting. I do feel like the ending is a tad rushed, and the interactions with Kalahar feel incomplete and even slightly plot-holey in places. For example, Kalahar is not allowed to mention or even touch the Bowl of Storms, and yet his method of being freed is to literally tell someone to take it and leave the place, and that it is guarded. This is also the case when he appears as a child. Also, when outside, a wish is granted to the person who destroys it, but this is the first time this is even mentioned. Additionally, the rules around the granting of the wish are a bit unclear, as it says that he kills one of the party for each wish, but never specifies if it's each one beyond the one that is promised. I know this is slightly picky, but when you're dealing with wishes, you kind of have to be given their supreme power. Another thing I found slightly disappointing was the lack of explanation as to what happens if Kalahar is freed. In the previous scenario, it gives a long-ranging projection of the effects that the party's actions have upon the entire region, and definite change can be observed, whereas in the Tomb of Fire, Kalahar is freed and then that is it. We get nothing else. For me, the Tomb of Fire, while having a decent amount of flavour and a good build-up, feels a bit lacking in the finale. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Also, if you're interested in buying this product, I'll put some links below. Lastly, if you like what I produce here, then maybe think about supporting me on Patreon. Bud out.